This video will address basics of the Annotate cross-section tool within corridor modeling. I'm going to use that tool, but before I do, I want to start off by creating some cross-sections that I can annotate. So I'll step through that real quick here. Create cross-sections. I've got a setup preference already, so I'll go ahead and use that. Load that up and put that, change the left offset and right offset because I don't really need that much room. And I'll change the exaggeration as well and do that. So we'll apply that. And now I have cross sections, so I can close. And if I zoom in, I can see I'm in Power Geopack, so I'll see this cell that we place in Geopack as part of the cross section. And I can just turn that off if I don't want to see it. So let's take a look at annotation. So I'm going to use the Annotate cross-section command under corridor modeling. And first thing I'll notice when the Annotate cross-section dialog comes up is the cross-section model that I'm in is listed here. I can switch between different models. And the surface that I want to annotate. So I have existing and I have proposed. So my proposed is called Geom CL after the name of my corridor. And I can label points. I can label different features. You can see here the different features that it sees in the file already. So these are the different components of my model. Segments. So I can annotate segments and then create frames if I want. So I've got some preferences already set up just to make this a little quicker. So I'm going to load up object called object offset elevation slope. So I'll click load there, close that. And what is that? So that's going to, I'm using the object versus a frame. I'm going to label, I'm not going to label points, I'm going to label features. So I've checked on include features. And in there I'm going to do an offset elevation label and a leader to that point. So if we were to look at, for example, this shoulder, I'll be able to see what that label is going to look like. And just for symbology, the last column, if I needed symbology, text sizes, all that is controlled here. So I could, for example, I could choose a different text color for the offset and another different one for the elevation, for example. So that was under features general. Then I have annotate. What do I want to, what particular pieces do I want to annotate? I can select all the features, none of them. I could say I just want to label the right shoulder point and maybe the right edge of pavement, so I can use the control key to multiple select. If I want to label the slope under segments, I can label slopes, slope length, width. I can label everything, or just, for example, let's just do the shoulder and edge of pavement, so just between those 2 points. And again, the general is where I set up the symbology. So for example, if I wanted slope to be blue, I could do that. At any point I can click apply, and that will label all the sections in this model. So I can see, again, under the slope, I've set my format to %. I've got 1 decimal point. If I go up here to features, I've got my elevation at 1 decimal point, my offset with a suffix, and a precision of 0.1. If I go undo, that will remove the annotation. So again, I can come here and select all of the features, and then of course I can do all of the segments. click apply, and it will label all of them at one time, and it will label them on every section. Now you can also do frame annotation. So for example, let me undo all that. So I can see I've removed all the annotation. So we'll go back to our one cross section here. And I've killed the tool, so let me bring it back up. And again, I'm going to do geom surface. And I've got a couple pre-set up frames here. So let's look at the frame design elevations. So this, you can see the difference here is I'm using a frame option versus the object option. And I'm going to label points now, and I'm going to label their elevation, and just so we can get a handle on what we're doing, I'll change the color of that elevation to red, and then focus my attention now on the frames. So I can see here under features, I'm not labeling features, and I'm not doing any segments. So under the frame, I've got these four things that I could create a frame for. So here I'm doing frame or feature elevation. It's going to create the frame right at the bottom of my cross section. We can control the offsets and where it places the tick marks, and there's nice little example pictures to help you. So collision options if points are too close together as it goes along, how to separate those in the frame. I'm going to do elevation, so I've given the row, I've labeled the row underneath in the frame called propose, so that's the row title and its text height. I'm not doing segments or features, so all this, the elevation is going to, I've set the elevation height, so it's going to use that elevation height for the points. And then symbology, so if I, for example, wanted to change the leader, I could double click, maybe come here and let's make it line code 3 instead of, and maybe make it yellow. And that'll be a leader line from the frame up to that point that it's labeling. I could change the color of the frame here. Maybe I don't want it to be white but purple, so we'll change it. So I click apply, and you can see it puts the frame called proposed elevations. Again, that was here under points. That's the row name, and then it's labeled the elevation of all the points. So it's labeled the elevation of all the points along my surface, and you can see the leader line going up to each point. So once I set these up, so for example, I want to do offset. Let me load that up. So now the main difference will be under the points option here, I've turned off elevation, turned on offset. And if I want to change the color, just so we can see it stand out a little, and then apply that, we can see that it's created a row called design offset, and it's placed the offset in the row for each of my design points. So that's how you can create frame annotations. And again, the other difference between this particular frame was it was 0.8 or 0.08 down. The other one started at 0. This one started at 0.08 down from the bottom of the cell or the cross section. So that is Annotate cross section review. So again, the main thing is you can label points, offsets, elevations, station for points. You can label features, offsets and elevations and stations and labels, names and stuff, so forth, and you can do segments and links and widths and slopes.